All right, hello and welcome everyone. You have arrived at the MRSC rosters webinar for public agency members. Thank you all for being here today. If you have any trouble throughout the webinar, you can chat into the chat box. We'll go over a couple technical notes before we dive into the content. Just a quick introduction. My name is Tara Anderson, and I am the manager of the MRSC rosters service. I'll be your presenter today, and I just want to give a big thanks to my colleague, Paige O'Sullivan, who will be making sure the presentation is running smoothly, and she'll be sending your questions to me at the end of the presentation as well. So a couple technical notes. During the webinar, if you have technical trouble, you can chat into the chat box or call our front desk at 206-625-1300, extension 100. And all of those notes are here on the slide. If you have trouble with audio, feel free to listen by phone. And I know that Paige dropped that information into the chat for you all. Also, it's here on the slide, so take note of that just in case you have trouble. You'll notice that when you first entered the webinar, a toolbar appeared on the side of your screen. To expand or collapse that toolbar, you can click on this orange arrow. And then to submit questions, you'll just want to type into the question box here, and then you can send those questions in to us. And I'll be taking questions at the end, and we'll have a Q&A session. The webinar is being recorded, so if you have to leave early or you have a question that you can't wait around for the answer on, we'll be sending out a recording to the webinar shortly after the presentation. So today's presentation is going to be most helpful for those of you who are newer to MRSC rosters. So if your agency just joined, this will be helpful for you. Or if you are new to your agency or position and you are just learning how to use the MRSC rosters, this is going to be helpful for you as well. We're going to talk about what your membership includes. We'll touch on the legal notice posting that's coming up. I'll go over how businesses sign up to be listed with public agencies through the MRSC rosters. And then we'll also go over how you as a public agency will access your rosters and search those rosters for businesses. We won't be reviewing purchasing or bidding procedures, but you can find more information related to procurement along with other information that we cover today at mrscrosters.org under the Public Agency tab. So in case you're not familiar with our organization, MRSC, I'll give you a quick introduction. The rosters service is part of a suite of services offered by the private nonprofit MRSC, which has been supporting Washington local governments for over 80 years through trusted consultation, research, training, and collaboration. And in this short video, I'll show you how you can sort of go to the website, navigate for different resources. We have research tools here. Find your contracting requirements is really helpful. Also, there's an Ask MRSC function where you can submit inquiries to our consultants, another really great resource. There's also a library of sample documents that you can check out on the webpage as well, and other training opportunities. So I encourage you all to visit MRSC and just check out the different services and resources there. So MRSC Rosters is, like I said, an associated but separate service of MRSC, and this service is funded entirely through our public agency membership fees and some business membership fees where those are applicable. So specifically, MRSC Rosters is a membership roster service which hosts your agency's small public works consultant, and if you've chosen to use the vendor option, the vendor rosters in our online shared database. And we provide all of the legal maintenance needed to utilize a roster contracting process. So this is the home page that you're probably all familiar with. From here, you can navigate to the public agencies section, and this short video will show you how you can navigate. From here, you'll be able to see that there is more information. A lot of what we cover today is going to be found on the website as well. So I would encourage you to explore that when you have time. Now we'll go ahead and jump into the specifics, and we'll first touch on what it is that your membership includes specifically. This is a membership that includes the hosting of your individual small public works roster and consultant roster within the shared database, like I mentioned. Also, there is the optional hosting of your vendor roster. So those of you who signed the contract that allowed you to use the vendor roster component, you'll also have access to that roster. It doesn't cost extra. If you ever want to switch to using the vendor option in addition to the small works and consultant roster, you can do that at the time of your renewal. We also provide the posting of the required roster legal notice on your behalf. We provide all customer support for business registration and application renewal, as well as any other issues that customers have throughout their membership with us. And we provide maintenance of the electronic business applications in the searchable database. So really our role is to take care of the administrative work that is required of managing a roster so that that part of it is lifted from your shoulders. The core element of your MRSC rosters membership is the hosting of your individual public agency rosters. So your agency has one account, which is shared among those of you in your agency who use the roster. This account will include your small works roster and consultant roster. And like I mentioned, if you signed up to use the vendor roster, you will also have access to the vendor roster. And the rosters are made up of the applications of the businesses who have specifically registered with your public agency. Your membership also includes the statute-required legal notice posting to notify businesses of your rosters that they may register at any time during the year. The notices that we publish are regionally focused and posted the first Monday of January and June in newspapers of general circulation per county. We publish in a variety of newspapers, including the Seattle Times, the Spokesman Review, the Kitsap Sun, and many, many others. And you can check out the full list on the website. There's a link here that you can see on the screen. Also in the materials we sent in advance, the link was included there. Thank you, Paige, for sending out that email. We will be publishing these notices soon. The next scheduled publication date is going to be January 4th or the week of, depending on the paper's publication schedule. So just be on the lookout for that. We'll send out a reminder to all of you about that publication, because you will want to save a copy of the publication in your records. For those of you who are using the vendor roster, we publish twice a year to meet the requirement. So you're not only going to be published in this most recent or this most current notice coming up in January, but you'll also appear in the publication in June. So you'll also receive a reminder for that. If your agency has an internal requirement to publish in a newspaper that we don't publish in, you'll want to either publish that notice yourself, or you'll want to update your internal policy so that our publication does meet your requirements. So again, please do check out the list of newspapers to make sure that you're covered. If you have a suggestion for a newspaper we're not already publishing in, please reach out to us and provide us with a suggestion. We're always open to expanding the publications as long as we are able to do that, as long as it's within our budget. But you know, part of this is we're supporting local newspapers every time we publish a notice, so it's a positive thing. All right, so another thing to be aware of is that as you are transitioning to using your MRSC rosters membership, you want to be able to provide updated information to all of your staff, and you want to also be able to alert businesses that you are using this service now, that they may need to go ahead and create a new account with MRSC rosters, or if they already have an account with us, those businesses will need to edit their application and add your agency to their selected rosters. So this transition assistance page on the website provides some basic language and really simple templates for announcing to staff that your agency is using the MRSC rosters for your small works consultant and, if applicable, vendor roster maintenance. Your staff should understand that the rosters membership does apply to all departments in your agency, and no staff member should be using any previously maintained rosters. We know that a variety of staff are involved with service agreements, just like your MRSC rosters contract. So you want to make sure that your finance department is aware of the annual membership fee, and that all public works staff know that they should be using the MRSC rosters as well. And I really think that any staff who will be using this should watch this webinar. We will be going over the sort of a training aspect so you can see how to navigate through the system. And it's just really helpful for those folks who will be using it to know how to use it. So again, we're recording this, and I'll be sharing the recording soon. That way you can share it with other staff. If you are new to rosters or have just begun using the vendor roster component, then you really should make sure that you are notifying businesses as well. Like I mentioned earlier, you want to make sure that your business community knows that they do need to sign up on your roster, that you won't be using old rosters. So this will enable them to continue to be eligible for opportunities from you. If you have businesses who need assistance signing up, that's what we're here for. So feel free to provide them with contact information. So now we'll go ahead and jump into how your businesses are going to join the MRSC rosters, because even though we're here to help with the customer onboarding when it comes to our business members, we know that oftentimes you are going to be their first point of contact. So it's good for you to have a basic understanding of what this looks like for them. It's a pretty simple process. When you have a business come to you and say, hey, I want to be on your roster, what do I do? Just direct them to mrscrosters.org. They're going to want to click on the businesses tab, and this is going to take them to a form where they can create an account. Once they create that account, they'll be sent an email that will link them to their application. They'll fill out that application and then submit it to us for review. We verify that the businesses meet minimum state requirements to work with Washington public agencies. And once a business is approved, they are listed on MRSC rosters for 1 year, and they are required to renew annually just to ensure that their information stays up to date. We send out email reminders to them and help them with the renewal, so that's not on you. That's something that we are here to help with, and we support them through that process. Something that I just want to mention quickly is that there is a basic application, which is the default application for our business members. It is free, and businesses can sign up with up to 9 different agencies for free, which keeps them within a certain area that they serve. If a business decides that they want to be listed with 10 or more public agencies in their application, there's a small $10 administrative fee that is applied to that account. However, if that is ever a barrier for any of our business members, we will waive that fee. We do not want to prevent anyone from being on the roster. That is not what we're here for. So just know that we are not preventing anyone from being here. It's open to all businesses who are eligible. There is an enhanced membership option as well. We have some of our larger consultancies who will use this option. It essentially, with one click, allows the business to be listed with a county grouping or listed statewide with all of our participating agencies, and that is a paid membership. I'll touch on a couple specific areas of the business application. This is simply a list of all the sections that the businesses must fill out to go through the application process. So in their application, they'll be able to select which rosters to be listed on. They can select a combination of rosters as well, so they could be listed both on the small works and the vendor rosters. When they select their roster type that will determine the service categories they'll be able to select in their application. And the service categories are the same categories that you as the agency will search and filter by, so I'll show you that later. The business also is going to be able to indicate if they are a small business. They're also going to be able to enter, their certifications, if they're women-owned, minority-owned, etc. Consultants are required to include a statement of qualifications, which you as the public agency can download and review when you're looking at consultants to work with. We know this is qualification-based, and you need to make sure you are checking out those statement of qualifications documents. And that's really the bulk of the application. The 2 sections I'll focus on in more detail are the service categories section and the public agency rosters section. So businesses are able to select specific services that they provide based on the roster types they indicated earlier. Like I mentioned, it's free for businesses to sign up, and they can select as many services as are applicable to them that they provide. We can't restrict the number of services that they select. This short little clip will show you what it looks like on their end. They just click one by one to indicate which services that they provide. If an agency does use the enhanced application, there is that select all option. If they select all, there is a pop-up that appears that asks them, are you sure that you provide all of these services? Just to try to help remind businesses that it is important for them to select accurately. That being said, it really is the business's responsibility to select their services in a way that is honest. In our trainings with businesses, we do emphasize the importance of selecting accurately And if we get notification from a public agency that a business has indicated that they provide something that they don't in fact provide, then we can work with that business to get them back on track and make sure that their application is accurate. But it is something that we aren't explicitly checking to make sure every category they select is accurate to the business itself. We just don't have the administrative power to do that. And I would just say that generally it's not an issue, but it does come up from time to time. And then the public agency roster section, of course, is where the businesses get to choose which agency rosters to be listed with. And again, I have a little clip here so you can see what this looks like. It's important to note that the agencies are listed by county grouping. And also, these are going to be your formal public agency names. So if you have a common public agency name and an official public agency name, your agency will be listed as your official legal agency name. So that is what you should make sure that your business members are looking for when they're searching for you. It's just helpful to know this in case you want to provide that kind of instruction in the announcement you're sending out to businesses, or if you end up helping a business out when they're signing up with you, you can make sure to mention this detail. It's just a helpful bit of information. I do want to mention too that we announce whenever new agencies join. So this means that, you know, some of you out there in our audience today, you're new members. We have sent out communications to all of our current business members that you have joined. So those businesses have had the opportunity to get listed with you. So as a new member, you might not yet have announced to your businesses that they need to sign up with you through MRSC rosters, but you still will likely have some businesses on your rosters already through MRSC rosters because we've communicated to the business community on our end. So again, once the business has completed all of those required sections, they're going to submit the application for review. And we generally are reviewing these new applications every 2 to 3 business days. The business will receive a confirmation when they're active in the system, and that will confirm that they will be there and listed for a year. We verify that businesses meet the minimum Washington state eligibility requirements to work with Washington public agencies. So as you can see here on the screen, we do make sure that all businesses have their valid Washington UBI number, active Department of Revenue account, and a federal tax ID number. There are some exceptions if a business is an out-of-state vendor, though that's an uncommon instance. It happens from time to time, so that is something to note. Small public works contractors cannot be debarred from public works projects, and they need to have an active workers' comp premium status if that's applicable. We also are now checking on the L&I training requirement, which is also indicated in their application and indicated in the information you can review on your end as the public agency. And like I mentioned earlier, consultants have to upload a general statement of qualifications. So if the business meets all of these qualifications, we're going to send them that confirmation email. They'll be registered and active. If we, for some reason, have a question about the information that the business has provided, or they've given us an incorrect, UBI number, we are following up with that business. We're working with them, and we're doing all that we can to get them listed and help them out with that process. I should mention too that during renewal, we are not re-verifying these applications. So we're verifying when they initially sign up, but we're not re-verifying during renewal. So all that being said, we're going to now transition into how you as an agency are going to be using this service to search your roster. If you have questions about the business side specifically, you can submit those questions now, or you can hold on to them. I'm going to be answering questions at the end of the presentation, so we will have some time for that. All right, so when your agency is using a roster contracting process, you're going to visit mrscrosters.org to log into your account. And you all should have login credentials. There is one login per account that is shared for your agency. If you need help retrieving that login information, you can reach out to whoever is in charge of your account within your agency, or you can reach out to us and we can help you out. Once you log in, you're going to land on your agency's homepage where you'll have 3 options for finding business information. Most often, you're going to use this first option, which is the generating and searching a roster. But I'm going to show you a quick little video clip that will run you through some of the other options here. There is a download business contacts option where you might want to contact everyone on a specific roster if you're having a government contracting event or a workshop coming up, or if you're sending out specific communications. So this is handy for that purpose. And you can see it has mailing and email. You can also search for a specific business. Maybe you want to see if someone's registered with you, or you want to check out an application specifically. You can do that here, and you'll be able to save the application if you want. You can also scroll through all the info. If they've provided a statement of qualifications, you can also download their statement of qualifications here. But like I said, most of the time you'll be using this first option of generating and searching a roster. So let's go over that process. So the first thing you're going to do when you're using the generate a roster process here is you will select the roster type that you are going to search. So for example, you might be searching the small works roster. And so you'll go ahead and click on that button. And at this point, you're going to be taken to this page where you can select the types of services to search by. So again, these are the same categories that you saw businesses searching by. And I'll show you a little video what this looks like on your end. You can select single categories to filter by. You can also select multiple categories if you are searching for businesses who provide multiple services. I do want to point out that if you're searching for multiple services and you want to make sure that the business provides all of those services that you've selected, you're going to want to choose this option of searching only for businesses that match all selections. That's going to apply a rule that will provide you with a list of businesses who have at least made all the selections that you have made. If you don't select that particular option here, then you're going to end up with a list of businesses who provide any of the services that you've selected. So that's going to be a much broader list that might not be as helpful if you're looking for something more specific. In the video here, you see that there is also an option to filter by businesses who perform emergency work. So once you have made your selections, you'll be able to simply go ahead and click on the Search Businesses button, and that's going to take you on to the next step of the process. And also, when you're going through this process, just pay attention to that progress bar that's at the top of the page. That's going to indicate where you are in the process. You don't necessarily want to leave your search process before you've gotten to the end of that progress bar. So that's a good indicator as to whether or not you've gone through the full process correctly. So once you click that search businesses button, you're going to end up on this next page, which shows you the business list that you've initially created, what you've ended up with. If you have searched the consultant roster, you'll also be able to download all of the statement of qualifications documents within a zip file. This is helpful. This is something that we have recently added per the request of our public agency members to make it easier to grab those files, because those are crucial when deciding which consultants to contact. So this video, I'll show you what this page looks like. You must click Save as a PDF in order to continue on in the process, or click that print icon. So I'll just replay that. You can see that clicking that option activates this button, and then you'll be able to advance in the process. You don't want to stop on this page, in part because the list that you'll download is simply a list of names for businesses. It's not very helpful if you're trying to contact businesses. The reason for this is it provides you with an initial record, and that is a record that you need to retain. It's there to really ensure that you have that record and you have sort of a paper trail or an electronic trail of the process you've gone through as an agency to determine your roster. So that's why I know it can seem kind of clunky, but that's why it's there. I do want to just talk a little bit about why businesses appear on your roster. So a business is going to appear on your roster because they selected to be listed with your agency in one of three ways. Either they individually selected your specific agency in the basic application, or they used enhanced membership and selected to be listed with all participating agencies in the county where you are located, or they used enhanced membership and selected to be listed statewide with all participating agencies. Again, as with any roster, individually maintained by an agency or hosted by us, businesses are not required to be physically located in your jurisdiction to be on your roster. And that is why you cannot filter by a location through this process. And that is also why you're going to see businesses on your list who aren't necessarily in your area. You also want to keep in mind that there are automatically businesses listed on your roster because some of these businesses in our system have selected to be listed by county grouping or statewide. If you have specific questions about, creating bid documents that would potentially limit the geographical range of who you can consider based on service requirements and potential maintenance or repair timeliness requirements, that is something that I am not an expert in, but if you submit an inquiry to MRSC, we have consultants here who can walk through that question with you. All right, so once you've saved that initial record and you move on in the process, you can see in the progress bar in the screenshot here that you've moved on to the next page. Not done yet. You'll be able to determine which businesses to solicit. If you want to narrow your list, that is an option. However, the easiest way to meet equitability requirements is to solicit all the businesses on your roster. That being said, We know that sometimes these roster lists are very long, and reaching out to everyone could create more work for you. And you might, as an agency, have an internal policy that allows you to narrow your list and solicit 5 businesses and narrow it that way. So if that's something you're doing and you're not just soliciting all, rather than clicking first on that solicit businesses button, you're going to check the box to narrow your roster results. Once you do that, it's going to activate the option to check boxes next to businesses to create a new narrowed list. And I'll show you a video clip to demonstrate. So click there. You'll see that you can select businesses to narrow your list to. And then once again, you'll need to save or print this document because you need that record. Also, it's going to be important to keep track of this because I believe that you'll want to cycle through businesses. If you end up contacting just a few, you'll need to make sure that you're not contacting those same businesses for opportunities over and over again. So that is an option, but again, I'll stress that it's easiest to simply solicit all businesses to meet those equitability requirements. So once you click that button, you're going to move on in the process, and you'll see that you have now reached the last page. Based on that progress bar, you can see here is the final step. So from here, you're not actually sending out any messages from the MRSC rosters platform. What you're doing is going to be pulling contact information that you then can use yourself to send out your RFPs, RFQs, etc. There are 3 options for pulling this information. Really, I think that the first option for downloading all contacts is going to be the best option. And I'll tell you why. If you download this, you're going to get a spreadsheet that not only includes all of the business's contact information, including their physical location if you want to see where they're located, if they're located near you or not. It's also going to include their certification information so you can determine if you are working with a business who is minority owned or women owned, and that also gives you a way to track that information. The spreadsheet also we've added a few other fields. It also is going to indicate if they've completed the L&I required training. It's going to indicate if they are considered a small business or not. So really, it's helpful to track that information, but it also provides you with a ready-made spreadsheet that is helpful to use when you're receiving communications from the businesses. You can easily add another column that says business, replied, business not interested, things like that. So I would say really handy just for records keeping as well. You'll see these other options where you can simply click email all. It's going to auto-populate into your email client where you'll be able to email all businesses. Some agencies would rather put the email addresses in the BCC field. So if that's something that you prefer to do as an agency, so you're not, revealing all of the other businesses' email addresses, you might want to do that. Other agencies for transparency purposes will just keep it in the to field, but that's going to be to your determination. The other option that you'll see is simply this copying and pasting from the text box. So you can right click, copy paste, or just copy to the clipboard, and that's just going to allow you again to copy and paste that information. So it's really based on what is easiest for you as far as which option you use. But again, I really think that using that spreadsheet is the most beneficial. even if you're not using it to maybe copy and paste the email addresses, it's good to have for your records. So just keep that in mind. And that is it for the process for how you will be using this service. So I just want to give a quick recap. To access your rosters, really simple. You go to the website, log in with the username and password that you've been provided with. If you don't have that information, let us know. We're here to help. There are instructions on the website and other pieces of information about the legal notice. So visit the website, explore that a little, make sure that you're communicating your use of rosters to all staff and your business community as well. Again, we have transition assistance materials with sample language, sample documents on the website there that might be helpful. But if you have questions about that at all, just reach out to me and I'm happy to provide assistance there as needed. Like I said, the posting is going to be coming up, scheduled to be published January 4th or the week of. I will be sending a reminder to all of you before it's published with, you know, some more of the information around the newspapers that we publish in, etc. But I just want to make sure you all know you need to save a copy of that for your records. It's important. So don't let that fall by the wayside. All right, this leaves us some time for Q&A, which is great. Once again, you can expand that toolbar by clicking on the orange arrow, enter your questions in the question box and submit those to us. And Paige will start sending those questions to me so we can jump into that Q&A. If you have to split because you're short on time, as we're all busy these days, feel free to just send me an email. Here's the email on the screen. I'm sure you all have my email as well, so feel free to reach out that way. And I do see some questions coming in, so I'll just read those aloud and we'll work through those together. Okay, our first question. Are there any guidelines around rotating the business on the vendor roster, same as the small works roster? That is a great question. I don't know what the specific guidelines are around that, if there are guidelines. I know that there are some great resources on the MRSC website. If you look at Find Your Contracting Requirements tool, that will help you. And also submitting an inquiry to MRSC, we can assign that inquiry to our consultant who is an expert in contracting and public works, and Judy Isaac is her name. She would be able to help us out with an answer to that. So keep that in mind if you have questions that are specific to contracting requirements or rules like that. Another question, how do we get a copy of the notice that goes out twice a year for our records? Great question. The best thing to do is to grab a copy of the newspaper when it's published and, you know, keep a copy of the clipping. You don't have to file away the entire newspaper. You can just save the actual notice itself. However, if you miss that for any reason or you're not able to grab a copy, we of course receive all of the affidavits and all of the copies of clippings from the newspapers we publish in. So we have those on record. They're all filed away and we can send you what you need. So if you're in that position, we're happy to provide you with that document. Another question, is there an option to be able to view rosters that our agency has previously generated? That is an excellent question. Right now, there's not a way for you on your end to see those previously generated rosters. though we do have, in our database, that information is stored for a set record, like a set period of time to adhere to record retention requirements. So that's something that we're talking about making accessible on your end since we have that data. I think that that would be helpful so that agencies can pull that old information, especially because, as the agency, you are expected to keep track of those records. And while it's great if you're saving every time you're running a search, you're saving the documentation, I know that sometimes you save it, but you're not sure where it gets saved to because things just kind of are saved automatically to random files. And so having access to that backlog, I think, is really helpful. So we're working on that. In the meantime, if for whatever reason you see a gap in your search documentation, or you're being audited and you don't have some information from a month in 2018 where you did a search and you used the roster, just let us know and we should be able to help you out. Okay, another question. So we have someone who is new to the roster process, and the question is, what content is in the ad or the legal posting? Is there an example? That's an excellent question. Yeah, the language is all there on the website. So if you actually go to the legal notice page on the website, you'll be able to see all of the past legal notice publications. Not the exact copies from the newspaper, but the text is there, what we do publish. So you can see that we reference the specific RCWs that enable a roster contracting process to be used. And so we also include all of the agencies within that region who are using the roster to announce to the business community that these agencies are using the MRSC rosters. So again, check out the language and the formatting. You can see it all on the website. Paige, if you don't mind, if you want to drop that link into the chat, that would be cool. Also, that link was provided in the materials that Paige sent out to everybody before the webinar. So check out the legal notice section on the website, and that will be really helpful. Another question, someone asking for a little bit more clarification, asking about how they get past notices if they didn't know that they needed to save it. Great question. So I have all of them. So if there's a specific a specific legal notice that you don't have and you need it, let me know. I have them all filed away in a very organized manner, and I will happily scan and send you what you need. Not a problem. Another question. Oh, yep. Another question about the legal notice. Is there a way to get a copy of last year's legal notice? Yep. Just reach out. I'm happy to provide that information. Okay, and it looks like Paige just shared the legal notice info link. So thank you so much, Paige, for doing that. And again, yeah, everyone feel free to check that out. You can see the newspapers we publish in, as well as all of the past notices where you can check out the language that we use in the notices, etc. So I don't see any other questions coming through, and that is totally fine, no pressure. We don't have to make up questions to fill time. I just want to thank you all for spending your valuable time with me this morning. I hope that this was helpful and that it just gives you a better sense of how to navigate the system. Again, this was recorded. We'll share the recording out so you can share it with staff or review any sections that you might have had questions about. If you have follow-up questions for me, reach out to me directly. If you have suggestions or feedback, anything like that, I'm happy to receive that. Thanks so much. Please stay safe and healthy out there and have a great rest of your week.